Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a very high-level 1v1. Our first player is Paranoid of DOW2.net. That's actually just a redirect address to the Dawn of War 2 section of game replays. But Paranoid is a very good Force Commander player. This Force Commander is a tanky melee hero. He can disrupt with Battle Cry. He can punch vehicles with his Power Fist. He can disrupt melee units or even non-melee units with his Thunder Hammer. Can even become a Terminator. Paranoid's opponent is Tyger. Tyger is a very, very high-level player, very good player, normally known for playing the Chaos Lord. Here he's playing as the Tyranid Lictor Alpha. The Lictor Alpha, right now, as you can see, is invisible. He is an infiltrating stealth hero. Very powerful in melee, has no ranged attack whatsoever, except for, I suppose, that Flesh Hook ability, which is a very good ability, very good hero overall. He actually seems to be, from what I can tell, he seems to be maybe the strongest Tyranid hero in 1v1, and possibly even one of the stronger heroes in the game. Right now he's actually getting a decap off on this requisition point, and Paranoid knows that that's happening, but he can't actually do anything about it because he doesn't yet have anything to detect, and he doesn't want his scouts to bump right into the Lictor Alpha. So this map is Leviathan Hive. It's actually become, I think, a little bit uncommon in the Elite mod these days. These days it's almost all Green Tooth Gorge and Calderis Refinery because everyone just picks their maps instead of leaving it to the random map picker of playing in ranked. So you don't see this map a lot. Still a pretty good map, I think. It's interesting in the sense that it has two natural power farms for both teams. It also has the middle VP is on top of a cliff, so it can be teleporting and jump units can be very useful on this map. Getting around the cliff there very quickly. So looks like Tyger pushed up forward. He really pushed those scouts back because those scouts, they're not going to do that well against the Lictor Alpha. The Lictor Alpha is pretty fast. He charges in pretty fast once he gets into melee range. And then once he gets into melee range, it's a major win for him. Certainly against any ranged unit in Tier 1. Right now we can see the Force Commander has already been upgraded to the Iron Halo. That's going to make him a lot tankier. I feel like I don't see that upgrade a lot, but I think it's a very, very powerful upgrade in Tier 1. Since tanky melee heroes are generally somewhat tough to deal with in Tier 1, they become much easier to deal with in Tier 2 and Tier 3 when you get units that have higher range DPS or upgrades to Tier 1 units, giving them higher range DPS. But range DPS is certainly, if not relatively low, it's just lower in Tier 1 than it is in later tiers. So I think that Iron Halo, basically giving the Force Commander an extra 500 health, is going to make him very, very tough to deal with. Now the Lictor Alpha right here, this is one of the very dangerous things about the Lictor Alpha. This Feeder Tendril War Gear, an extremely good War Gear. It's 63.75 DPS power in melee. This is from the old retail tooltip, but I don't think it's been changed in the Elite mod. Now that's first of all, it's just a very, very powerful weapon. Most of the other Tier 1 power weapon upgrades for commanders only do 50 DPS. The Plague Sword, the Power Sword for both the Force Commander and the Commissar Lord, those are only 50 DPS. So this one does more, and it also restores 2% of the Lictor Alpha's health per strike, which is also really good considering he attacks very, very quickly. So that Lictor Alpha becomes extremely tanky with that War Gear. Not just extremely tanky, but he's also leading his opponents tremendously, getting model kills very quickly, even on units like Tactical Marines, which have huge health pools and melee resistance. Paranoid hasn't even been able to keep this power node over here. I think at one point he wanted to node it. He asked why it didn't node. This Force Commander is already level 2. So one of the good things about that Iron Halo is that it's also going to benefit a lot from leveling because the Force Commander, in addition to getting more health, will also be getting more energy, and that will synergize with the Iron Halo because he'll be getting even more even more damage, or basically health points, from using the Iron Halo from that energy pool. He can also get the Artificer Armor, which gives an energy boost, so that's basically like giving him another, instead of giving him just another 200 hit points, it's basically giving him 300 hit points, because you're getting 100 from that Iron Halo. Now I feel like Tyger has had the better end of the map control. He has his Lictor backcapping all the way back over here. At this point, Paranoid has pushed up a little bit. Finally, he does get Assault Space Marines out on the field, and I think that will help him a lot, especially with Tyger right now splitting his Termagants and his Hormagaunts. The Assault Space Marines will hard counter those Termagants, but they mainly just have to worry about the Hormagaunts. As it is, I actually don't think Tyger's managing this engagement that well, because he's leaving his Termagants to be hard countered by those Assault Space Marines. And now the Hormagaunts just took a lot of range fire, running away. So that was actually not a very well managed engagement by Tyger. And he also has to be very careful with his Hormagaunts. One gets down to still 4 models left, but down to 130 health out of about 700. So some close calls for Tyger. Not great management on that engagement. His Force Commander definitely benefiting a lot from that Iron Halo. One of the disadvantages of that Iron Halo, though, is that it becomes a little trickier to use Battle Cry, since Battle Cry is an ability that costs energy. In general, one of the disadvantages of energy shields is that in order to get the most out of your energy shield, you have to reduce your ability usage out of that hero. So, and Battle Cry is one of the Force Commander's core abilities, I think. Now, he can still use it, but if he does use it, that will actually reduce the effectiveness of the energy shield. Assault Space Marines have to be careful here. They will probably just jump out. That would be the smartest thing to do. He's trying to finish off that generator, and now he jumps out without losing a model. Yes, that was the right play by Paranoid. Still has to be careful with that Force Commander. So we do have a Warrior Brood now out for Tyger. Now, we will almost definitely see the Adrenal Glands upgraded on that Warrior Brood, going to increase their health to about 1,500, a little more than that actually, as well as providing melee synapse for these Hormagaunts, which also have their Adrenal Glands. For them, it's just a 10% increase in damage and a 10% increase in health, as well as allowing them to leap into melee. That even with the 10% increase in health, Hormagaunts do have very little health, actually. But 10% increase in damage, they already start with very good damage. So their damage is actually going to be pretty good. We have Tyranids blobs up over here. Now, blobbing is something that is people often look down on it. And there are certainly some obvious disadvantages to blobbing. You leave yourself a lot more vulnerable to disruption, to area of effect abilities and attacks. Tyranids obviously actually have some mechanics that encourage blobbing with all their synapses, especially multiple synapses, since I believe this Lictor Alpha has its own basic synapse that it offers to Tyranid units, reducing their received damage. So double shotgun scouts, disrupting as many of those units as they can, but this is not a winning engagement for Paranoid. He's basically just getting overwhelmed. His Assault Space Marines, I think they will be... Oh no, now they're going to lose models. I was going to say, if they retreat immediately, they would probably get out of there without losing a model. But as it is, they did lose one model, lost another one. Warrior Brood model goes down, and the Lictor Alpha tried to go in there. Maybe could have Flesh Took. No, his energy was... He did not have enough energy. And Tyger just being an absolute beast with whatever hero he's playing, even though he's mainly known for the Chaos Lord, being very aggressive. Scouts bugging out. I saw the energy of the Scouts. Wow. Scouts get out of there with just 1 health. I saw the energy of the Scouts dip down like 2 or 3 times. So they were trying to use some kind of ability. It was either bugging out or something was happening maybe with the model that was using the ability dying. So unfortunately, not a great engagement for Paranoid. He still did get out of there with that Scout Squad, which was very lucky. Now, Tyger has obviously been exerting a lot more pressure. And yet, they actually have actually exactly equal power farms. Razorback now out for Paranoid. That's going to help him out a little bit. The adrenal glands are now up on the Warrior Brews, going to be giving them that melee synapse to the Hormigons. But Tyger at the moment definitely lacks real counters to that Warrior Brood. I mean, to the Razorback. The Warrior Brood does do heavy melee damage, so they will do significant damage if they can get in range of the Razorback. But currently the Razorback, with its speed and double shotgun scouts for support, the Razorback should be able to keep itself away from the Warrior Brood while bleeding a lot of models from those Termagants. Now look at the health pool of this Hormigon. 1,400. Oh, it's going down. But it was roughly 1,400, which is basically double what it had without it, but without that melee synapse. But the Hormigons have also been upgraded to Endless Swarm, so giving them an extra 2 models, and yet for no extra population cost, and I think no extra upkeep as well. Warrior Brood actually not doing well at all, in part due to the Assault Marines and now having their Sergeant giving them a power sword. Going to be doing bonus damage to those Warrior Broods, but now the Assault Marines do have to be very careful. They do lose their Assault Marine Sergeant, so unfortunately a little bit of a costly loss right there. I think his Assault Marines were a little overextended against those Hormigons, and the Shotgun Blast came a little bit late. Meanwhile, though, Paranoid is only running around with one of his scouts inside the Razorback. The other one backcapped Tyger's natural victory point and his natural power. Now, keeping shotgun scouts inside your Razorback is generally a very good idea for quite a few reasons. First of all, they are the repair unit for Space Marines, so if your Razorback starts taking damage, you can have them jump out and start repairing, back it up a little bit, use the smoke grenade to reduce incoming range damage. Additionally, the Shotgun Blast ability is how you often disrupt units that are attempting to kill the Razorback, especially melee units. And then usually once you disrupt a Razorback, the damage from the scouts as well as the Razorback will usually force that melee unit off because it will be taking too much damage. Tyger now does have that Venom Breed. This is the main AV response you get from Tyranids in Tier 2. It's just a ranged AV unit. It does something roughly like 12 DPS per model. That would come out to 36 for the whole squad. It's not that great considering the squad has no snare, but it's just what the Tyranids have. Can be combined with the focused warp blast of the Zoanthrope to good effect. And it will also just threaten the Razorback enough. Just the implied threat of having anti-vehicle weapons is something that just really makes a difference, because it will change how your opponent is using their anti-vehicle weapon and change where they can even go with it. Because when you have the Razorback out, when you have it out early on, and when you know you've gotten out at a good period, you have a fairly short amount of time where your Razorback will either be relatively uncountered or completely uncountered. In this case, it was relatively uncountered because there were the Warrior Broods, but the Warrior Broods were really not enough to deal with the Razorback. The Venom Brood is going to be a harder counter because it's a ranged AV weapon. So we see that Paranoid is being fairly conservative with where he's driving his Razorback, really using it as a support vehicle for just that range fire, keeping it really in the back and jumping his units inside if they get in trouble, and then driving away. As is the Hormigons, not the Hormigons, the Venom Brood is getting very close, and now the scouts are overwhelmed. Razorback needs to drive the hell out of there, yes. And these Tactical Marines actually upgraded to the Plasma Gun, so that's obviously a anti-heavy infantry response. Will make it more effective against the Warrior Broods as well as the Venom Broods. But strangely enough, I would actually say that the Plasma Gun is a relatively uncommon upgrade for the Tactical Marines, especially compared to Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines for Chaos. And I think part of that, one of the reasons that is that usually people will leave their tactical marines without any weapon because they feel that it's more important to leave them open for the possibility of having to get a missile launcher to deal with a vehicle. Since that's usually, if your opponent gets a vehicle in Tier 2, that's usually the more necessary upgrade than to get a plasma gun. Even against races that can definitely get some kind of early vehicle like Space Marines or Chaos. Or actually, especially, I mean, even against power armor races, where you have to deal with a lot of heavy armor, you also have to deal with heavy vehicles. So that plasma gun is actually relatively uncommon, and I think especially so now that there are Stern Guard veterans available in the Elite mod, that being a very versatile upgrade. Scouts are now backcapping, and we do have just that big Tyranid swarm again. Now, of course, the Assault Space Marines, they can disrupt and counter pretty much this whole ranged blob. The Force Commander, on the other hand, will be good for countering the melee units. And one Hormigaunt Brute is going down to stop those scouts. The Force Commander will absolutely go down here, getting overwhelmed. And Terminators already. I didn't even realize Paranoid was in Tier 3. His only Tier 2 purchases, I guess, were the Razorback, the Sergeant on the Assault Space Marines, and then I guess also the Plasma Gun. So relatively minimal Tier 2 investments, and then he gets to Tier 3 and puts some Terminators on the field, Assault Terminators. Of course, one of the reasons Paranoid can get that Plasma Gun on his tax in Tier 2 is that he can reasonably, well, Tyranids do not have any vehicles in Tier 2, so he doesn't need to worry about that early vehicle rush. Now, Terminators, in this matchup, it's generally probably better to keep the Assault Terminators with their Thunder Hammers. First of all, you save the resources, and then those Terminators with their Thunder Hammers will be one of the best answers to the inevitable Carnifex or Swarm Lord that you can expect from Tyranids. Assault Space Marines here, I think, taking a lot of range fire, and they are getting out of there. They will leave with all of their models. But at this point, yeah, this engagement is going to go in favor of, I would say, I thought it was going to go in favor of Paranoid. Paranoid, meanwhile, while I was watching this engagement, he lost his Razorback. But let's see, the Terminators right here, they will definitely force off the Warrior Brutes. Now, the Terminators are going to be having a huge resistance to the Termagants. But they will be taking full damage to the Venom Brutes. Right now, I'd say the Tactical Marines, they're probably targeting the Venom Brutes, while the Assault Terminators are just charging in on the Termagants. So, all of Tyger's starting infantry units, his Hormigons and his Termagants, all of those squads actually have the Endless Swarm upgrade, giving them an extra 2 models for no additional population. Terminators here, I think now in a little bit of trouble, should teleport out, especially with a Lictor coming. This Lictor, meanwhile, has been upgraded to have the Lone Hunter. That's actually one of the Lictor Alpha's very, very powerful upgrades. Terminators overstaying their welcome, lucky to still have 3 models, but they will start losing them if they stay in here much longer. They have no support. Paranoid maybe just thinks that he can't get them out of there anyway, but yes, he can. Mainly needs to worry about this Lictor, but his Force Commander is coming to support. That Force Commander, Paranoid might still lose 1 model. Oh man, I hope he doesn't lose the squad. Oh no! That is going to be it for the Terminators, I think. Yes, it is. So that crippling poison ability from the Termagant scaling all the way into Tier 3, proving to be an effective Terminator counter. And Paranoid, now things not looking so good for him. He got to Tier 3 fairly quickly. Put some Terminators out on the field.
Scouts under attack.
Unfortunately, he lost them. Also lost his Razorback.
We must reverse the course of the battle.
Lictor Alpha will go down here, though, so that's at least a minor victory that Paranoid has, but things are still not looking good. At this point, he might go for a Predator. I think that would be a decent choice. But he's just not in a great situation. Taking those losses, Tyger has not lost anything except for his Lictor Alpha. But now he's getting a Swarm Lord, which will probably be a lot more valuable than the Lictor Alpha.
Enemy contact.
So I missed some things in the early parts of the game, but this is a matchup that traditionally favors the Tyranids. At least at one point, it was actually called the worst matchup in the game, favoring Tyranids and being a disadvantageous matchup for the Space Marines. Now, things have changed a bit since I've read that and heard that. That was also at a time when Scout Sergeants could be killed off, and the Lictor Alpha could just use Flesh Up to instantly kill Scout Sergeants, which were the only way to detect him. Things might be a little bit different now in the Elite mod. I think it's been said that the matchup is a little more balanced. Still, we're definitely seeing Paranoid struggling a bit, but that could just be Tyger being as beastly as he is and as aggressive as he is. Predator is now out for Paranoid. No upgrades yet. Still has to worry about this Venom Brood. Needs to get the Force Commander over there. Also needs the Tactical Marines to take some shots with their Plasma Gun. A Warrior Brood model dies and releases a Synapse Bomb. I think one more Warrior Brood model might die. No, maybe not. There we go. One dies from that Plasma Gun shot. So Plasma attacks actually at level 4, so going to be doing some pretty good damage, I think. But now's this Swarm Lord, and that's going to be extremely tough to deal with. That Swarm Lord, I'm sad to say that I'm not terribly knowledgeable about the Swarm Lord. But what I do know is that, first of all, it's a vehicle. It's a monstrous creature, technically, but it has vehicle armor. 2,000 health, that's nothing to laugh at. It's faster than a Carnifex. It's quite fast for what it is. And it also has an ability that can actually heal itself. Now, that can combine to make the Swarm Lord pretty tough to kill at times. You definitely need some pretty hard AV. I'd say the Las Cannon would actually be pretty much a necessary upgrade for that Predator. Paranoid has the resources to get it. He might be thinking he's trying to save up for more... Oh, I was going to say he might be saving up for more Terminators, but he's actually going for another Predator. So instead of upgrading his existing Predator, he wants to get 2 out on the field, which is actually a pretty good choice. There's certainly nothing wrong overall with just running your Predator around vanilla. It's actually, I was going to say it's very functional, but it's actually more than functional, even just in its vanilla form. It's very good, being anti-all, being very good against infantry, and countering most vehicles as well, to be honest, just by virtue of the fact that it can kite most vehicles. Now, the way Paranoid is managing this engagement makes me a little scared for his Predator, though, but the Venom Brood did get overextended, so that is the main source of AV that Tyger had to deal with that Predator. So getting a second Predator out, yeah, I mean, I would say having 2 Predators out on the field is actually worth more than having a single upgraded Predator. Having 2 of those anti-all tanks. Now, Paranoid, I think, is making some good choices in engagements, but he is losing on the passive-aggressive map control war. Map control is going massively in favor of Tyger. He's got the natural VP for Paranoid. He's also going to get his natural. Paranoid is decapping the middle one, but that's still looking like it's going to be a 2-to-1 for Tyger. Tyger also with very good unit preservation, not losing his units, but the power of these double Predators really are putting Paranoid back into the game. Now, Paranoid is, again, not going for the upgrades on those Predators. This time, he really might be saving up for another squad of Terminators, and in this case, I think that's a very good idea. Having Terminators out on the field in addition to these Predators is going to be really tough for Tyger to deal with, I think. There will be a lot of AV. That Swarm Lord will be very well countered, and the Terminators would also be able to tie up the Venom Brood. Scouts are now idling. They need to go give some repair support. Unfortunately, Paranoid lost one of his scouts. That's going to make it a lot tougher to support his dual Predator play, and he may want to consider putting a new scout squad on the field purely for that reason, but I think he wants the Terminators out first. He's saving up the resources, and I imagine he's going for the Terminators, but he does not have much time left. to basically there's about to be a triple cap against him. So he does not have that much time. He's going to try to scare these Hormagaunts off just with some range fire. And there are the Terminators right on top of the Hormagaunts. Now, all right. So Tyger just instantly retreats. I was going to say that could have resulted in some dead Hormagaunts. This Predator. Oh, this Predator's in a lot of trouble right now, being chased down by a few too many things. Where is that Force Commander? Need that Force Commander for the disruption. Oh, Predator goes down.
The Predator and its crew have fallen. Are we to accept defeat?
At least Tyger now, I mean not Tyger, Paranoid now does have the double cap. Oh no, that Predator needs to continue being microed. This could be the end for Paranoid. Pushing right up in front of his base. The Terminators are capping, unfortunately. They need to be doing some kind of fighting. Lictor Alpha almost takes out a scout squad. Oh, and this Predator is off the field because it doesn't have enough repair support. Tactical Marines go down. It's still a double cap for Paranoid, but he's taking massive losses while Tyger still has not actually lost a single unit. Terminators teleport offensively because we're running out of time for Paranoid. That will seriously threaten the Swarm Lord, and the Swarm Lord is trying to get out of there, but it's going to be a double cap and even a triple cap over here for Tyger on the VPs. The Swarm Lord just might go down, but it's so fast that it can actually just kind of run out of there and run away from the Assault Terminators. And the Predator goes down for Tyger as well. I mean, for Paranoid, because of a Tyranno formation. Look at that Tyranno, that spire up on top of that cliff. And that's actually got to be it for Paranoid. I do have a habit of calling things a little too early, but he's definitely taken some major losses. He finally gets a wipe on one of the units, but a wipe on a Termagant squad at this point in the game. He did also wipe out the Venom Brood, but he calls a GG. Triple cap for Tyger, and he wins the game. Quite a game. I would also just like to mention that I haven't been uploading too many replays recently. I actually have a ton, and I've just been kind of busy. But I want to say that I really appreciate the replays that I've been receiving. I've actually been receiving a lot. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to cast them as quickly as I would like to, but I will try to get around to casting as many as I can. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.